What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City transfer update. Before I do crack on with today's update, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, then do subscribe. It is free to subscribe. I'm going to keep you guys up to date here on YouTube every single day with all the latest City transfer news. Also, don't forget social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up. 300 likes is the aim, and do let me know your thoughts as well in the comments below. So we've got no contract news to speak about today. So we've got one story in the out, which we're going to dive straight into, and it's a huge update on Kyle Walker. Now we've finally got some movement on the outs with Manchester City. It's only taken, well, this news came out on July 4th, so it's only taken more than a month for us to finally get some movement, but David Ornstein has said that Kyle Walker, he won't be making a transfer to Turkey this summer, despite some interest coming in from Fenerbahce. We were reporting the other day that they were going into Kyle Walker with a second offer to try and tempt him to go to Turkey. I don't think Kyle Walker was overly that keen on making the move to Turkey and instead wanted to stay in England. And I firmly believe that Kyle Walker, had Sheffield United been promoted, would have gone back to his boyhood club. That wasn't to be the case, and instead he's going to be going to newly promoted Burnley in the Premier League. Now, David Ornstein has said that this is going to be a deal worth up to £5 million with bonuses, and it is going to save Manchester City roughly around £10 million in wages, as Kyle Walker's wage believed to be around £200,000 per week. Now, I'm not entirely sure about what wage Kyle Walker is going to be on at Burnley, but I imagine that it's going to be absolutely nowhere near £200,000 a week. So Kyle Walker, to stay playing in the Premier League, is going to be taking a wage cut to join Burnley. Now, the Times have said that Burnley are not going to be paying a transfer fee initially to Manchester City for Kyle Walker, and instead they're just going to be paying in terms of their add-ons, which could add up to around £5 million. Now, these are going to be based on appearances and if Burnley do stay in the Premier League or not. I'm still waiting for clarification about the length of contract that Kyle Walker is going to sign with Burnley. I'd also like to know if there's some kind of relegation release clause included in his contract, because I can't imagine that Kyle Walker at any point in the near future would be that keen on playing in the Championship, which, going off the pattern that's happened over the last couple of seasons, teams that get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League, they're doing a lot of yo-yoing, so they're getting promoted, then relegated, promoted, then relegated, and you are getting a sense that there's several clubs either at the bottom part of the Premier League or the top parts of the Championship who are kind of in no man's land. They're too good for the Championship, they're not good enough for the Premier League, and so Burnley are one of them teams, and Burnley trying to do something about it by going out and signing a proven Premier League player like Kyle Walker, who's going to offer something completely different with a wealth of experience. And I think this is a really good deal for Burnley, and Kyle Walker just could end up being that bit of business that Burnley need, that could be the difference between them being relegated to the Championship once more and staying in the Premier League. So you need proven Premier League players. You need players who are going to improve on your squad, and I think Kyle Walker does do that for Burnley. So this is a really good signing for Burnley, and I can see why Kyle Walker would be keen on staying in the Premier League as well. I can't imagine, if I'm being honest with you guys, in the next 12 months of Kyle Walker still being around the England national team, but I might be wrong. You know, he might have an outstanding season with Burnley. Burnley may comfortably end up staying in the Premier League, to which case, if Kyle Walker ends up being one of their better defenders, then he's got every chance of potentially going to the World Cup with England. But I think here, what Kyle Walker's thinking about is, obviously, his home is set up in the northwest of England, where Manchester City are, and conveniently just so happens to be where Burnley are as well. They're not too far away from each other, Manchester and Burnley. We're looking at, if I was to do an estimate without looking at the geography, I reckon the distance probably between the Etihad Stadium and Turf Moor, where Burnley play the trade, you're probably looking at around, 15-20 miles. So Kyle Walker, isn't going to have to relocate. He could stay around his family, and of course we've all seen in the press about Kyle Walker trying to salvage his marriage with his wife and all the off-field antics and everything that's going on. So I feel like Kyle Walker maybe just thinks that it's for the best for him. He's had a bit of respite away from the family whilst he was on loan with AC Milan, and he wants to stay closer to home so he can work on his relationship with his wife, with his relationship with his children, and look to try and, I presume, leave things in the past. But we're dipping into what's getting into the football players' personal lives, which I'm not completely comfortable with. So I presume that's the thinking that's going on here behind Kyle Walker's decision to stay in the northwest of England, to continue to play in the Premier League, and he gets his move to Burnley. I know that Everton's never been chucked out there for Kyle Walker, but obviously they chose not to make a move for him. So here we are. Burnley do make the move, and Burnley are going to get Kyle Walker, and Manchester City now are going to be working really hard to try and get some more outgoings, in particular of a few of the homegrown players dotted around, including that of Calvin Phillips that we need to sort out. We also need to sort out the future of Jack Grealish, as well as looking at some of the other players who may or may not want to be at the club, including waiting on clarity on what's going to happen with Ederson, and is he going to sign a new contract, what's going to happen with Stefan Ortega Moreno, with him potentially wanting to leave Manchester City, Ilkay Gundogan being heavily linked with a move to Turkey and potentially being interested in that move to Turkey. So there's still a lot to sort here when it comes to the outgoings. Just in the middle of piecing together the transfer update for today, and it has been confirmed in the last couple of minutes from both Burnley and Manchester City that Kyle Walker has now signed for Burnley for free. The deal could rise up to £5 million. He signs on a 2-year contract, so I wanted to wish Kyle Walker the very best of luck at Burnley, except when he takes on Manchester City, of course, and also wanted to thank Kyle Walker for all of the work and effort that he's put in at Manchester City. And as far as I'm concerned, he's Manchester City's best ever right back that we've ever had, in my opinion. He's the best right back I've certainly ever seen at Manchester City, and I have nothing but grateful appreciation of everything that he's done and achieved at the club, and I wish him nothing but success for the future. Thank you, Kyle. Now, moving on to the ins, couple of new names. First player I want to speak about is Romario Collins, plays for Sheffiled Wednesday, who are wanting a 6-figure fee for their youngster this summer. Now, that's according to the Daily Star. Now, he's a teenager. Age hasn't been specified, but he does play for the Sheffield Wednesday under-18s team. He does play as a forward, and Sheffield Wednesday, as we've seen with Caelan-Kole Cadamarteri, they want to try and sell some of their young players to generate enough money that they can go and pay their players and clear some of their debts and sort out a little bit of their financial problem without affecting too much of their first team, which is what Sheffield Wednesday are trying to achieve. So they're dipping into their academy and making their fantastic academy players available for sale, and Manchester City wanting to take Caelan-Kole Cadamarteri, and they're also going to be taking Romario Collins, according to the Daily Star. And the other new name I want to speak about is Fermin Lopez from Barcelona. Now, Fichajes, hope I've said the source's name correctly, they're a media establishment based in Spain, have said that Pep Guardiola really likes Lopez from Barcelona, and he would be interested in adding the midfielder to his squad. Now, he's a 22-year-old attacking midfielder. Manchester United are also really keen on bringing him in, and apparently this is where the story is materialised from, that Pep Guardiola doesn't want Lopez to make a move to Manchester United and would prefer him to play at Manchester City. Now, for Manchester City to bring him in as he's non-homegrown, it would mean that Manchester City do need to sell players to start bringing in more non-homegrown players, in particular those aged over the age of 21, who we would need to register both for the Premier League and for the Champions League. Now, Barcelona are apparently looking to try and sell Lopez. They don't want to do too many sales this summer, so they're looking around the fringe parts of their squad and trying to generate as much money as possible to put them in a good position to be able to bring players in, and also, crucially for them, register players as well. It's why they've ended up missing out on Williams from Athletic Bilbao, who signed a new contract with them, because Barcelona couldn't register him. He had concerns over that, so he's decided not to go to Barcelona, and I think this is just kick-starting Barcelona interaction to realise realise that actually some of the fringe players, they can move on, bring in more finances that will allow them to potentially bring new players in who they then can register. So Lopez seemingly looking like he is for sale at Barcelona. Now Manchester United are really keen. City's name's been put out there because Pep Guardiola's really keen, but with the situation that Manchester City find themselves in terms of the non-homegrown and homegrown quota, I just can't see City going for this. It doesn't make, for me, too much sense. Also, I don't feel like we need an attacking midfielder. I feel like we've got a lot of attacking midfielders, and I don't think we're going to get any clarity on attacking midfielders in this summer transfer window. Maybe next summer, maybe, and even that's a maybe. I'm not 100% on that, but I just can't see City going for this. And if I'm being completely honest, reading between the lines, I feel like Pep and Man City's name's just been used here to try and get somebody else a better deal, whether that be a bigger fee for Barcelona when it comes to the negotiations with Manchester United or another team, or this is coming maybe from Lopez's camp to try and get him a better contract and a better deal. I don't know, but one thing I just can't really see from this is Fermin Lopez playing for Manchester City. I can't see that happening. I don't see how it makes any sense whatsoever. So whilst Man City may look at him and say he's of interest, and Pep Guardiola may really like him, it's there's a big difference between, you know, Pep liking a player and Man City actually making a move and paying the money to Barcelona. And if you look at the politics side of things between Manchester City and Barcelona, relations between the two clubs aren't very good, and I can't see this transfer happening, if I'm being completely honest. I found the links very interesting, but I just can't see it happening. I'd love to know your thoughts of that though, guys, in the comments below. Also, don't forget as well to subscribe if you're new around here. It is free to subscribe. I'm going to keep you guys up to date every single day with all the latest Manchester City transfer news here on YouTube. Also, don't forget social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And also don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up on the video. We're aiming for 300 likes, and I'll see you all again religiously tomorrow for the next daily Manchester City transfer update. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.